On this Mother's Day weekend, we have the King Arthur movie and the mother-daughter road trip movie. And I know I have my priorities straight. Ha! So let's talk about King Arthur. So King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, it starts out very much what you would expect a typical King Arthur story to start out. Arthur is a boy who grows up on the streets, he finds the sword Excalibur, and he pulls it from the stone. Only thing is, after he pulls it from the stone, he finds out his really wicked uncle, played by Jude Law, is brewing up some trouble, and now he, along with his gang, have to go out and stop him. And we have ourselves a new Guy Ritchie movie, a surprisingly enjoyable one at that. Let's be honest, the trailers and marketing for this thing were very lukewarm to say the very least. And while the movie does have a lot of problems, there was a surprising amount of enjoyment to be had, starting out with the amount of magic that was in here. And I'm not just talking about the elephants, which make the Oliphants from Lord of the Rings look like ants. But when these spells, when this sorcery is blasted onto the screen, you can understand fully why it is a superpower in their world, and it is something to be feared. But besides the magic, there are two performances that completely stand out here. One is Jude Law. I wasn't surprised by it at all. The guy is one of the best actors working today. But Charlie Hunnam as Arthur. I've been kind of lukewarm on Charlie Hunnam. I've only seen him in Pacific Rim, and I didn't really think he was all that great. But here, I can't see anyone else ever playing this character. He was charming, he was witty, and you just wanted to root for him to find some kind of happiness. The visuals and the soundtrack were also thoroughly enjoyable. Although some of the visuals, it started to look like something out of a video game, like something you would find in World of Warcraft. But my favorite aspect of this film has got to be that Guy Ritchie made the bold decision to focus not so much of when Arthur gets the sword, but what happens following that event. And although I love the decision, just because it's bold doesn't make it good. Let's start out with the acting here for a second. Honestly, Charlie Hunnam and Jude Law were great. But everybody else, those supporting characters, they're just there, because no character development whatsoever, just standing around, pretty much doing nothing. For instance, there's this Magi girl who's introduced, and we know that she's a powerful sorcerer, and that Arthur kind of likes her, and she kind of likes Arthur, but other than that, you don't really know anything about her. But that's the problem with having so many characters you try to focus on, is that you end up spreading yourself too thin, and the audience never gets a chance to connect to them. The biggest glaring issue I have with the film, however, isn't the characters. It's how the story is structured as a whole. There are so many times where the story montages through these critical points in Arthur's journey. For instance, Arthur has to go do this thing in a certain forest, but we probably only see about 2% of that. I think that King Arthur Legend of the Sword may be suffering from the same problem that Warcraft did last year. It feels as though you take an entire season of a television show or the 3 Lord of the Rings movies and squish it down into 2 hours. The enjoyable parts are very enjoyable, but the story doesn't really get in depth as much as it should have. Now, with those problems out of the way, you know what you like in entertainment, and I have to admit that I enjoyed King Arthur for the summer popcorn movie that it was. But before I give it my final rating, I have a special guest who wants to give his quick thoughts on the movie itself.
Hey guys, Jeff here, brother of Cody. Yeah, as far as the movie went, I thought it was a good movie. The problem that I saw with the movie was this. There's no character development. It's as if, let's say, I went to a foreign country and I was supposed to make connections with people. And because I didn't know the language and I don't know anything about them, I can't really make that connection. So ultimately that would be the biggest flaw I could see with this movie.
Now, final rating for the movie, like I said, I enjoyed it for the popcorn movie that it was, and I'll say that King Arthur, The Legend of the Sword is a casual watch. But as always, it is what you say that matters. So have you already seen King Arthur Legend of the Sword? And what did you think of it? More importantly, what is your favorite King Arthur story? Leave a comment down below telling me your thoughts. And if you like what you've heard here and you want to see more, click right there and subscribe and become part of the fray of nerds who love cinema. You all have a fantastic day.